Did you guys know that I went to college? Yeah, I even graduated too, somehow. That just goes to show you guys that if I can do it, so can you. While in college though, I took a number of economics classes and I learned quite a lot about it. I wasn't an economics major or anything, it just so happened that some economics class fit my schedule and graduation requirements, so I took a couple of them. I did find it very interesting though, learning all these economic concepts, especially the economics of other countries, how they handled their wealth, their debt, their popular imports and exports, and all about that. Now economics can get a little tricky since there's a lot to it, but basically it's just the study of money. You know what else has money besides the real world? Main series Pokemon games. So I got to thinking, what's the economy of the Pokemon world like? Is there inflation? Are there free markets in the Pokemon world? Where does the money even come from? So today we're going to completely overanalyze yet another part of the Pokemon world for absolutely no reason other than the fact that I have completely lost my sanity sometime in 2017, and we are going to look at the economics of the Pokemon world. And before we get too far in the video, if you want to support the channel, consider leaving a like as it helps a ton, and also consider subscribing since most people who watch my videos aren't even subscribed. So first we have to take a look at currency in Pokemon. In Pokemon games, it's this P-looking symbol that we call Pokedollars, and it's said to be based off of the Japanese yen, especially in the first Pokemon games. Now this is a very important distinction. Just because something is based on something else doesn't exactly mean they are the exact same thing and have the exact same properties. While the simple answer would be to say that the currency in Pokemon is just the same exact thing as the Japanese yen, that's too simple of an answer for me to accept, and I wouldn't be able to make this video if it was that simple. There's also the case that every single region in the main series Pokemon game uses the same currency symbol in the English games, implying that they all use the same exact currency system. Now it's unclear as to if the currency system in Pokemon works like the Euro system across most of the European countries, or if every single region is governed by the same entity which distributes the same type of money in every region. While both are technically possible, and the idea of every Pokemon region being governed by one entity opens up a whole nother giant can of worms about Pokemon government and politics, and I think it makes more sense that every region in Pokemon has some sort of European Union-like agreement between them. It is possible that gym leaders, the Elite Four, and the champion even could act as the region's government, but seeing as you could be the champion as young as 10 years old, I really doubt they would let a 10-year-old govern their region. Now that I'm looking into it, there's very little to no information at all suggesting anything about a Pokemon government in the main series Pokemon games. There are police officers, reference to wars, but nothing about a president, or a mayor, or a governor, or a judge even in the main series Pokemon games. Unless you count the contest judges, which are a different kind of judges. Now I don't want to fall too far down the rabbit hole of Pokemon politics in this video, so let's just get back into economics. So if we assume that the currency in Pokemon is the same in every single region, we have to look at the prices of certain items. Let's use a basic potion for example, which costs 300 Pokedollars in every single game except for Sun, Moon, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, Sword, and Shield, where the prices were lowered to only 200 Pokedollars. While the simple explanation to the lowered price would be to make the games a little bit easier, to make it easier to get multiple potions, since they did do the same thing with a lot of other items in Pokemon games, we can also make an argument that's just as strong about the price of potions going down because of supply and demand. Supply and demand is one of the most basic economic models to understand, and basically it's the relationship between the amount of a certain good or service in relation to how many people actually want that good and service, and if they're willing to pay for it. For example, if the price of potions go up, it could be because the demand outweighs the supply, or because the supply isn't enough to meet the demand, meaning people are willing to spend more for it, causing the price to go up. This same can be said about the inverse of these things, where the price of something goes down because the supply of something is too high and people don't want to spend as much of it, or because it's too easily available. The best real-world example I can give with this is gasoline, and how the price of gas went down a couple of months ago when most countries were on complete lockdown, since there was really no reason to buy gas if you didn't have to go anywhere, causing them to lower the price to encourage people to buy it. So back to potions, I'd like to make the argument that the reason why the price of potions went down is simply because of supply and demand. When you think about it, how many other trainers in Pokemon games use potions besides yourself? Just gym leaders, the rich trainers, and sometimes your rival or other really important trainers like the evil team leader. The only people who really need a steady supply of potions are trainers who are frequently battling, and they aren't exactly necessary goods for most people in the Pokemon world. Now here's an interesting concept. Substitute goods are two goods that fulfill a very similar role or purpose. For example, a Domino's pizza and a Pizza Hut pizza are substitute goods since they're both pizzas and fulfill the same need. If you really want a pizza and one of these two options isn't available to you, assuming they're the only two options, then you would just get the other if you really want a pizza. This is great for competition within the market, which forces the prices of all substitute goods to be relatively close to each other. Otherwise, if Pizza Hut was considerably more expensive than Domino's, then most people would just go for Domino's and Pizza Hut would lose a lot of business. In Pokemon games though, the same concept exists with the standard Pokemon medicine being potions, full heals, etc. with herbs, or herbs. Did you pronounce the H? I don't really know. There's a lot of items like this, so we'll take a look at Hyper Potions and the Energy Root item for example. They both do the exact same thing, heal 120 or 200 HP depending on which game you're playing, but the Energy Root has the small drawback of lowering your Pokemon's friendship. The Energy Root did not exist until Generation 2, so in the Generation 1 Pokemon games the best form of healing was the Hyper Potion, which cost 1,500 Pokedollars and had no competition. In Gold and Silver though, the price of the Hyper Potion was lowered to 1,200 Pokedollars, which coincidentally is the same generation that the Energy Root was introduced in, which only costs 800 Pokedollars in those games. While the simple and arguably much more logical reason for this is they just lowered the price of the Hyper Potion since they thought the price was too high from Generation 1, I'm going to say that the reason why Hyper Potions went down in price is because we saw the introduction of a new substitute good to the Hyper Potion, being the Energy Root. The price of the Hyper Potion does go back up to 1,500 with Sun and Moon, and coincidentally, the price of the Energy Root also increases to 1,200 Pokedollars in Sun and Moon. The price of the Energy Root should always have a slightly lower price than the Hyper Potion, due to it having a slight drawback over the potion, and the potion just being a little bit superior overall. But the fact that they have price relationships throughout the games is interesting and coincidentally supports the idea that competition in the market does exist in Pokemon games. One thing that completely messes everything up in the Pokemon economy and has the potential to cause a major economic crisis in the Pokemon world though are moves like Payday. These moves just make money appear out of nowhere and can easily contribute to hyperinflation in the Pokemon world. This can happen in the real world as well, and it did even happen in Zimbabwe just a few years ago, where they needed money so badly that their solution was to just print more of it. This backfired terribly for Zimbabwe and made their country virtually worthless since there was so much of a supply of the Zimbabwe money floating around, and they just kept printing it when they needed more to pay off their debts. If this ever happened in the Pokemon world, there's no telling what could happen. Actually, now that I think about it, if I was an evil team leader in a Pokemon game, that would be my goal. Hoard all of the precious materials like nuggets or big pearls, then cause massive hyperinflation with an army of Meowths going for payday against random wild Pokemon to get myself a lot of money. Now here's where things get a bit more interesting. I've teased about this video idea for months now and just kept putting it off, but the hint I've been showing is a picture of a lava cookie. Believe it or not, out of every item that exists in Pokemon, the lava cookie is one of the most important and most helpful items when it comes to figuring out the Pokemon economy and how it works. So let's take a look at the cost as well as the selling price of the lava cookie in every game it appears in. It first appears in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire where it costs 200 Pokedollars and sells for 100 Pokedollars. Typically items in Pokemon games sell for 50% of their cost in that same game, which will be important later. Now the lava cookie is native to the Hoenn region and they are made in Lava Ridge Town, but they exist in other regions as well. This is very important since it shows us that trade between each region does exist. In the case of the standard items like Pokeballs or potions sold in every single Pokemart in every region, they are usually made within that region by that region's big company, whether it be the Silph Co. in Kanto or the Devon Corporation in Hoenn. Lava cookies are more unique because even if you obtain one of them outside of the Hoenn region, the lava cookie had to have originated in Hoenn since that's the only place that makes them. This would explain the price differences for each region the lava cookie exists in, despite the fact that they all use the same currency. It's the same reason why a French-made good purchased in Slovakia would usually cost more than it would in France, despite using the same currency, because of transportation costs as well as potential tariffs that can exist between countries. Now this gets into Pokemon geography a little bit, but when it comes to transporting goods, if the origination of the good is close to the destination, then the cost should be relatively the same since shipping costs shouldn't be that high. This is why lava cookies are also 200 Pokedollars in Pokemon Platinum, because the Hoenn region isn't too far off from Sinnoh geographically, assuming my assumed map is at least close to correct. The Hoenn region is far from the Alola and Galar regions though, which would explain why the selling price of a lava cookie in those regions is 175 Pokedollars compared to the typical 100 Pokedollars in Hoenn. Now you can't purchase lava cookies in Alola or Galar with regular Pokedollars, but you can buy them using certain other currencies like the Festival Plaza or in the Battle Cafe. This is probably because they are scarce in these regions and they sell for a higher price because of that. Like we mentioned earlier, the selling price of most Pokemon items is 50% of the cost of that region, and the same can be said about the inverse. Because we can assume that a regular lava cookie in Alola or Galar would cost 300 Pokedollars, which happens to be 50% more of the cost than it is in its native region. This is most likely because of shipping costs associated with transferring an item like the lava cookie, which I would also assume has a relatively short shelf life since it is a cookie going to a faraway region. So if you were wondering why I made the Pokemon geography video before making this video, it's because of the lava cookie. So this went on longer than I expected it to, and I could have gone on for much longer. A lot of economic ideas exist within the main series Pokemon games, which I'm also assuming has some sort of free market system since you do have the ability to sell unwanted items in Pokemarts and stuff like that, and there are many unique shops throughout various different Pokemon regions. You're probably going to think something along the lines of, did any of this information even matter, or who even cares about this, or are you even qualified to talk about any of this information? And to that I have to say, if you made it this far in the video and you at least cared a little bit about the Pokemon economy, and no, I am in no way qualified to talk about any of this economic information. Anyway, that'll be it for this week's video of me completely overanalyzing another seemingly pointless aspect of a children's video game. Come back next week and see what other unimportant Pokemon topic I have to talk about then.